What is going on, Roundtable Sports? It is your host, Colby Cochran, here with another Smackdown as we are getting ready for football. You guys saw me just a few short minutes ago where we broke down Vikings, Rams, but now we're switching to another game in the NFC, a big game as the Philadelphia Eagles take on the Green Bay Packers. Today's video brought to you by BetUS. We'll talk to you a little bit later how you can get an exclusive limited time deal from them. On your way in, make sure you guys subscribe here to Roundtable Sports main YouTube channel where you get content from every single NFL team, exclusive shows. I mean, we got Wake Up and Ball every single Monday through Friday. We got Draftaholics every single Thursday live at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, breaking down everything for the 2025 NFL Draft. This is your one-stop shop for everything sports. But fellas, how we doing today? Before we start breaking it down, getting into each other's necks a little bit, how do you guys feel about just your season from 2024? Boss, let's start with you.
I overall feel good. I know a lot of Packers fans are sitting here going, we expect better, and a lot of fans are already writing us off like they're going to get bounced by the Eagles easily, and I'm not that way. I think our team definitely has a chance, and being in the playoffs for the second year in a row under pretty much what was a rebuild, quote unquote, last year. Like a lot of people didn't expect the Packers to make the playoffs last year. They snuck in at 9-8, first year under Jordan Love, youngest team ever to make the playoffs, and then this year, they're the youngest team ever to make the playoffs since last year's Green Bay Packers yet again. So the Packers are trending upwards, and I still think they're a good football team. And quite honestly, even though the last 2 weeks don't really show that, I think they're a better football team than they were entering the playoffs last year. They just have a lot of self-inflicted wound mistakes that they have to clean up. They can't get out of their own way some of the times. I feel like that's happened in a lot of their losses. And Matt LaFleur has to coach a better football game than he has the last 2 weeks. But overall, I'm happy, man. We're talking about the playoffs here, so I can't be that upset.
You guys face a lot of adversity this season too, and is that something that you think has made your team stronger? And we'll talk about what makes the Packers different from what we saw earlier on in the year, but you guys fought through a lot of adversity, a lot of injuries that maybe made your team stronger.
Yeah, I think so, just because I think Matt LaFleur did a good job when Jordan Love obviously went down on one of those final plays against the Eagles in Brazil. And that's what a lot of people are kind of forgetting, that earlier portion of the season. A lot of Packers fans are like, oh, the Packers don't deserve to be here. And I would rebuttal with, hey, they're still an 11-win football team, and they had to play 2.5 games with a backup quarterback. I think that's pretty impressive. And everyone will circle back and say, well, they haven't beat the good teams. They're 0-5 against every NFC team that has a better record for them. And I understand that, but all those games were pretty tight. Outside of the one Detroit game was that week 9. They lost by 10. Outside of that, all those other games, average point differential of 4.4 points. So they've kept it close. And I know a lot of those games started rough and they kind of brought it back in towards the back half. But I think the adversity has definitely helped this Packers team. It comes down to if they could put it all together in the playoffs, which is a big question mark right now. I'm not saying it's a guarantee. It's a big question mark.
For sure. Now, Eagle Owl, you guys had a very good season, one of the best teams in the NFL. You got to feel pretty good about how your team was maybe able to finish this season, because you guys had a pretty good season last year, but you faded down the stretch. You faded when it matters the most. And something that I say on all of my shows, and something that I make evident for my own team that I cover, is I say, I don't care how you play week 1. Week 1 is an anomaly. I want to see what you can do when it matters most. What you do in September, what you do in October, that does not matter. That does not define a team. What matters most is how you play in November, in December, when everything is on the line. Something that struggled for your Eagles last year, but this year you were able to turn around that narrative. What are your thoughts on how your Eagles were able to prevail here in 2024?
Yeah, I'm very proud of them, especially the way we started the season. A lot of Eagles fans had questions like, yo, we 2-2. We barely beat the Packers. We lost to the Falcons. Are the same things carrying over from last year into this year? I'm like, just give it time. We got a new OC. We got a new DC. Give it time. We had a really early bye. So when Eagles fans, when we first seen the schedule, like week 5, early bye, this is not going to be good. But us starting the season 2-2 actually worked out. Jalen Hurts came out his press conference. It's like, that was the best bye week we ever had. Eagles fans, we 2-2. We like, what? The best bye week. The next thing you know, we go on this win streak. we fall to the Commanders, which, division games, it happens. But we picked it back up. Jalen Hurts got hurt. And then it just showed how deep we are, because even with a hurt Jalen Hurts, Kenny Pickett was able to finish off the Cowboys to secure the number 2 spot. And then we just had Tanner McKee play last game and win the game as well with a bunch of backups. So I'm very proud of this team, because not just the first team, of course, AJ Brown and those guys are doing good. Even our second team could come in and finish games. So I'm very proud of this team, how they playing as a whole, to the coaching staff, to us talking about let's fire Nick Sirianni early in the season. I thought that was ridiculous. But then as the season went on, we see how it played out.
Yeah, it was that shaved head, right? Ever since he shaved his head, just do something about the hair. That once Sirianni just got rid of it, he started to actually be the Sirianni we saw when he was able to take the Eagles to the Super Bowl. But fellas, as we alluded to, this is a rematch that we saw to open up the 2024 season all the way back in week 1. We do know, sorry, boss, not to bring up a sore subject, but we do know that the Eagles won in Brazil 34-29. Now, Eagle Al, I want to go back to, because you touched upon something with Nick Sirianni that I kind of want to get some clarification on, and that's the fact that, again, the Eagles faded down the stretch of 2023. You guys didn't do very well in the playoffs last year because of when you faded when it mattered the most. Sirianni immediately had this controversy around him on, do they fire him? Do they go another route? Now they give him another year here in 2024. Do you think that he is playing for his job in this game, and what does it take for Sirianni to come back in 2025?
Is he playing for his job? I don't know, because things just factor in. Like, what if an injury happened during the game, or the players are just not executing? And the Green Bay Packers are a good team. There will be questions if we lose this game, depending on how we lose the game. But in order for Sirianni to come back, I think he just got to win a playoff game or two. A lot of teams, or a lot of analysts, have us as Super Bowl favorites, but if we fall badly, like a collapse, there will be conversations. But I don't think the Eagles will fire him, because the way the season went, there was controversy. He got over, but things happened in the playoffs. So I think even if we lose, Nick Sirianni will be just fine, to be honest.
What do you think about that, boss? Do you think that he's potentially playing for his job?
I don't at all, but nothing would surprise me with Philly. Like, I feel like there's all those conversations, but I don't think there's any actual validity behind Sirianni being fired, even if the Packers do to the Eagles what they did to Dallas round 1 last year. Like, the team went 14-3. Like, if you fire a head coach, regardless if you're one and done after a 14-3 season, I mean, it's just crazy talk to me.
Yeah, right. And it's very difficult, too, because this is another thing that I say very regularly, is that today's generation of the NFL is not what I grew up with. I'm sure it's not what you fellas grew up with either, to where I remember growing up as a kid, and, the teams that were bad for 5, 10 plus years, because they wouldn't fire their head coach when they clearly wasn't working out. You're right. They wouldn't move on from that quarterback when it wasn't working out. But now we're seeing the exact opposite. When things immediately don't go as planned, things immediately aren't going well, the team isn't being turned around, and you are immediately not contending. Teams, the organization, the fan base, they're immediately calling for the quarterback to be traded. They're immediately calling for the head coach to be fired, because it's always going back into that carousel and trying to find that diamond in the rough. So you really never know. But, boss, while we have you here, I do want to also ask you, like we alluded to, the Packers did lose week 1 when they played the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of people are going to see that and say, well, if the Eagles were able to do it before, they should be able to do it again, and an easy win for Philadelphia. Tell the people what makes the Packers different now in this matchup from what we saw in week 1.
Well, first, I think I would honestly rather have them play in Philly than Brazil again. I think we can both allude to the poor field quality. I mean, when we're watching that game back, it wasn't just Packers players, it was Eagles players slipping all over the place. And I know certain plays, like the 70-yard touchdown of Jaden Reed, there was some slipping happening on the back end. But, watching Jordan Love play in that game and a 50% completion rate, I think the majority of it was he couldn't really complete his drop back. I think that field was not prepared for a football game to be played on it. I'm not giving excuses, because the Packers should have put the Eagles away early on with two quick turnovers. And I think that's part of it. I think the Packers are better at that at this point in the season. if they're getting turnovers, actually converting those to touchdowns rather than just field goals. I mean, that game opened up and everyone's going, what in the world just happened if you're an Eagles fan? An interception, a fumble, but it's only 6-0. So you guys, as Eagles fans, are sitting there we can live with that, right? Two straight turnovers, we could live with that. Other than that, I think the running game under Josh Jacobs has just gotten much more fluid. I think the run blocking is hitting its peak. I think the Packers are protecting Jordan Love at their peak. They've allowed the second least sacks in the NFL, only behind the Bills and Josh Allen, because that guy just simply doesn't go down. But there's also on the flip side, like with the Eagles, you look at this game and you see Jaden Reed, 4 catches, 138. That guy's been nearly invisible since that game. And I can't sit here and go, oh, he's going to do that again, because not only has Jaden Reed been bad, but he's going against Avonte Maddox, where Cooper DeJean's in that spot now. And what's also very different is, I'll say the same thing because similar names, right? Cooper DeJean, Edgerrin Cooper. Edgerrin Cooper played 10 snaps in this game week 1. Now he's quite literally one of our best defensive players as a second-round rookie, similar to Cooper DeJean. He seems like one of your best, defensive players right now. So a lot has changed for both teams. I don't take much weight from this game. I think both teams are vastly different from week 1. I think the Packers also have done a good job at least cleaning up some of the dumb penalties. I know they had a couple last week, but this game, there's a lot of dumb penalties, just stepping on your own feet, right? There's still some other issues. Jordan Love's been a lot better at protecting the football, hasn't thrown an interception in like 5 or 6 or so weeks, where we saw in the early half of the season, that's all he did was throw interceptions. So there's a lot different about the Packers. The last 2 weeks, the recency bias, we're going to be sitting here and going like, okay, this Packers team is not good. Look, they just lost to a 4-12 Bears team. But when I watched that tape, man, there was a lot of questionable stuff that happened. And, as long as that questionable stuff doesn't happen again, I think the Packers have a solid chance.
Yeah, and boss, you kind of answered this already, but I just kind of wanted to get some clarification on it, is the fact that the Eagles do have home field advantage. When you played them week 1, it was in Brazil. No one really necessarily had that home field advantage. Do you feel worse about them having the home field advantage, or do you feel better? Like, does it worry you at all that you have to go into Philly to win this game?
I mean, it does worry me. Obviously, Philly fan base is electric, so, they're going to be loud on third downs, and the Packers haven't done a great job at managing crowd noise on the road with their silent count. They've done a horrible job at allowing crowds to take over the game and run a silent count down to the game clock down to like 1 second each time. And other teams such as the Lions, such as the Vikings, have been able to time their snap count because it's silent and it's always down to 1 second. So I'm really hoping that's not the case here. But like I said earlier, obviously I'd rather be in Lambeau, of course, but that's not the case. But over Brazil, yeah, I'm fine with Philly just because the field quality. Like I said, I think it was awful. I don't think Brazil was ready for a football game, and I hope they get it fixed if they do another one next year.
For sure. And Eagle, I actually want to kind of flip that and ask you kind of the same question. Because this is in Philadelphia, do you think that Eagles fans are going to show up and really make this an advantage for Philadelphia?
Absolutely. Yeah, the fans are going to go crazy in Philadelphia. I was watching the Brazil game, and I felt like it was more of a home game for the Packers, even though they consider that a home game for us. I knew somebody that went to the game. It was like 70% Packers fans there. So now they actually come to our home and play us. And just like he said about the Packers, it's basically the same thing about the Eagles. We're a lot better team. Like Jalen Hurts was giving them opportunities, but since like week 5, Jalen Hurts been pretty good, taking care of the ball. The run game obviously got a lot better with Saquon Barkley and MVP conversations. Our pass rush got a lot better. The emergence of Nakobe Dean, then Cooper DeJean, the secondary just a lot better. I don't think Reed get that off like how he did the first game. So, the crowd is going to play a huge part of this game, but just the play in general. Like, I think we was ranked first in defense to close out the season. So this is going to be a really, really good game with Packers getting better, also us getting better. And the only thing I'm kind of worried about is Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts will be fine to play, but he didn't play about 3 weeks. So will he be rusty? I don't know. Do we lean heavy on Saquon Barkley? We'll see what the Packers do, but we lean heavy on Saquon Barkley and they let him get off. This game can get ugly.
For sure. And Eagle Al, I want to start with you into this next question, and that is, what is the biggest weakness on the Packers, at least in your mind, that you think the Philadelphia Eagles can take advantage of to win this game?
The biggest weakness right now on the Packers is they are strong, man. The only thing I could really rely on is hopefully they keep that ugly streak going, like the last two games. Like they just don't play well going into Philadelphia. Like I said, they got the quarterback. I know they lost a deep threat, which Watson didn't really do much against us the first game. I think he had like 15 yards for a touchdown, but you still
Yeah.
losing that deep threat. So they got more the injury bug. Not sure about Jordan Love elbow. I heard the coach say one thing, he could have went back in the game. Then I heard him say, "Oh, I was a little hurt still." So I don't know about that. See how he played Jordan Love. So our defense just gotta stop the run. If y'all get the run game going, it could possibly get ugly for us. So we can stop the run, contain the run. We'll be fine. I think both offense can get off with their run game, but I think it depends who slows the run game down. Pretty much win the game.
So essentially, make them one-dimensional, take away the run game, force them to beat you through the air, and I'm sure you like the Eagles' chances winning through the air more than you like the Packers' ability to win through the air.
Absolutely. With Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, then we get Dallas Goddard back. Our O line, everybody's healthy. Arrested Jalen Hurts could be good or bad, not sure. So yeah, I like our chances.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this game really could come down to which team, which prolific running back just ends up running the ball more effectively. Which team can dominate time of possession, stay on the field, and just keep the opposing team off the field for as long as possible. Now, boss, I want to ask you the same question that I just asked Eagle Al, and that is, what is the biggest weakness on the Eagles that you could see the Packers taking advantage of?
So I have a couple here, and it's crazy that I'm calling it a weakness because it's just a testament to how good the Eagles football team is because when you look at their pass defense, it's first, right? So like clearly a weakness wouldn't be airing it out against this Eagles pass defense, but in terms of their defense, it's the run defense. It's 10th, which is still great. That's what I'm saying. It's crazy calling this a weakness, but in terms of what we have to offer, I think it is because defensive rushing yards. They finished the season 10th, and then yards per carry, they finished the season 10th. Josh Jacobs has been very, very strong lately, and a lot of the times, if Josh Jacobs is having a killer game, the Packers are doing really well. So I think that's one thing they could take advantage of. Another thing is not allowing the Eagles to get much pressure on Jordan Love and kind of allowing plays a bit longer time to develop. When you take a look at the Eagles, they're 28th in pressure percentage at 17.9%, and then blitz percentage, they're 27th at 19.1%. Actually, the Packers are lower than them. They blitz less than the Eagles, but if the Eagles aren't able to get pressure against this Packers great pass blocking offensive line and Jordan Love has more time in the pocket, then maybe he can start to find receivers open in this very good pass defense. But the minute the Eagles start to get pressure, if they start to get home, it's going to look a little ugly because those guys on the back end can play man to man with any receivers in the league.
For sure. Well, guys, make sure you let us know in the live chat, or if you're watching this back, let us know in the comment section below, who do you think is going to win this game? We want to hear your thoughts. Get in on the football discussion. Are you taking the Philadelphia Eagles? Are you taking the Green Bay Packers? Of course, make sure you guys subscribe to these individual creators' channels linked in the description box below. And of course, leave a big like on this video. Helps support us massively, while of course also subscribing to the channel. Fellas, before we continue on, though, I do want to get into the odds of this game for anybody that is interesting in maybe placing a couple of bets. And of course, if you are, you gotta do it with BetUS, the proud sponsors of this video. Right now, when you guys sign up with BetUS, super quick, takes less than 60 seconds. I've done it myself. You can use the mobile app. You can use their website. You sign up, though. You use the promo code YouTube150. That is YouTube 150. You will lock yourselves into a limited time exclusive offer of a 150% sign up bonus on your first deposit, followed by 125 on your next two, all the way up to $2,000. That is a deal on your first three deposits right now. With that deal, you can use it on the Green Bay Packers and Philadelphia Eagles game. You can use it on the next two playoff games that we're going to see down the road. You can use it on the Super Bowl, but BetUS, they have the best betting variety in the business. So if you're not interested in betting on NFL games, that's completely okay. You can bet on the NBA. You can bet on baseball. You can bet on college football, hockey, horse racing, fighting, politics, entertainment. BetUS, that best betting variety in the business, is something they pride themselves on. And the deal does not stop there, because right now, you guys can get 10% back on your net losses 2 times a year with BetUS. But Fellas, right now for this game, the Philadelphia Eagles are favored at about 4.5, with the over-under being 45 total points. Boss, let's start with you. What do you think about being underdogs in this game by 4 points? Do you feel a little bit disrespected? And what do you think about that over-under?
I don't feel disrespected at all. Honestly, if I'm an Eagles fan, I might, because when you look at this, you're kind of sitting there and you're going, what is Vegas seeing? Like I'm fine. Packers should 100% be an underdog, right? Like they just lost 2 games, lost to the Bears. They're a 7th seed against the Eagles at their home stadium, and it's a 2 seed. So yeah, I'd be fine with them being an underdog. For example, last year the Packers were 7-point underdogs heading into 2nd seed Dallas, right? So I'm sitting here wondering, like, why is it 4.5? And you might be going, oh well, they don't know the status of Jalen Hurts. I think we can all agree he's going to play, but it's like, what is that going to look like early on in that game, or for that game? So I'm not disrespected at all. I'm actually a little surprised that it's that low. I think it started at 3.5. And when you factor in home field advantage, which is usually a 3-point favorite, then we're really, at a neutral field, it would only be 1.5 favorites. It's closer than a lot of people thought it would be. So that's interesting to me.
Yeah, what do you think about that over-under too? If you're betting on this game, would you take the over or under?
Considering my prediction, it would be over.
It would be over.
Yeah.
All right. I like that. High-scoring game. Eagle Al, let's go down to you. What do you think about being 4-point favorites in this game? Boss saying that if he was an Eagles fan, he would feel a little bit disrespected. Do you feel disrespected?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Like you said, usually when you have home field advantage, you 3 points. But they got us 4.5, so they saying like the Packers are definitely going to compete. And I think they factor in probably last year what Packers did to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Then plus, again, the status of Jalen Hurts, a lot of people don't know, especially what the big media is putting out there. But I know he's going to play. So that's what I think it is either the Jalen Hurts thing or just don't sleep on Green Bay Packers, because what they did last year. And they really think they're going to compete. And we'll see. We'll see, man. I do feel a little disrespected. That's too close.
And what do you think about that over-under? If you're betting, would you take the over or under in this game?
Probably the over. I'll take the
Take
over.
the over. Both of you taking the over. I like it. A high-scoring game. This is definitely going to be a fun one to watch. But, fellas, got a couple more things to get into before we log off for the day. Again, make sure you guys comment below who you think is going to win this matchup. Are you riding with Eagle Al or are you riding with Basarowski? Let us know in the comment section below. But I want to know what your biggest worry is for your own team heading into this matchup. Eagle Al, let's start with you.
I'm gonna get just Jalen Hurts to rush. Is he good? Will he miss reads? Will he miss throws? Will he throw picks because he haven't played in 3 weeks? So that's my biggest worry, and that because that rush, he might throw a pick or it might be a turnover on downs or a lot of punts, and Green Bay this time might take advantage of it. Like he mentioned in the beginning of the video, like we had 2 turnovers, but they only scored 6 points. Now we do something like that this game, it could be 14-0. So that's all I'm really worried about. I think our defense been playing really, really well. Our offense been playing really, really well. I'm not worried about the weapons in the AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, or Saquon Barkley, or even our O-line in general. Not worried about the defense, but I am worried if Jalen Hurts starts slow. Can this game get ugly? And also our first quarter slow starts. We one of the worst teams in the first quarter. Will those slow starts catch up to us and actually hurt us this game? So if we start fast and we keep going and going and going, then this game could get ugly. But I am worried about if Jalen Hurts is ready or not.
Do you think one of the best ways to maybe combat that, to start off fast, to give Jalen Hurts kind of that ability to have all the momentum to start the game, is that if you win the coin toss, rather than deferring, would you rather start with the ball?
No, I'd rather defer. We still got the first-ranked defense. Just see what the Green Bay Packers put out there as they scripted plays. But, yeah, I would definitely just kick it off to them so we could get the ball in the second half.
For sure. Now, boss, let's go on over to you. What is your biggest worry about the Packers heading into this game?
I want to touch on that real quick. That's why I started laughing, because it was a touchy subject when you said, "Oh, if to start hot, would you want to? If you win the coin toss, take the ball." So that's what Matt LaFleur has been doing for the past 4 weeks, and it's blown up in his face every single time. That's why, like, if you look at all of our losses outside of the Eagles, when we take the ball first, it always results in, okay, we punt the football and the other team scores, right? It's always starting a slow start. So if you're saying the Eagles have slow starts in the first quarter, we might see some ugly first quarter football because the Packers are right there with you. So I cannot stand that Matt LaFleur keeps doing that. So if you win the coin toss, every analytic tells you defer. But as for a weakness for the Packers, that pretty much was it. Slow start. But another one I would say is drops, I would say, for the offense at the wide receiver position. You just lost Christian Watson. You saw week 1 against the Eagles. We were riddled with drops, mainly Dontavian Wicks. I always call him Devontae Wicks because he runs routes so much like him. Dontavian Wicks. He had a bunch of drops against the Eagles in week 1. Jaden Reed's been riddled with drops. And actually, the statistics show that Jordan Love, 7.8% of his passes have been dropped this year, which is second highest in the NFL. So he'd have around a 70% completion rate without those drops. And obviously, drops are part of the game. But simply, mental mistakes like that, drops, fumbling the football. They've had some fumbles recently. That sort of thing. And then, of course, it comes back to coaching and clock management. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched the ending of that Bears game last week, but there's a lot of questionable clock management where all of us collectively as Packers fans are going like, what in the world? Like, why are you taking a timeout there when you're looking to drain the clock to kick a field goal, right? Like, you got to be better as a head coach, put your guys in a better position there. So that's definitely the biggest Packers weakness right now.
For sure. And guys, the only thing we have left is the segment that everybody's been waiting for. And that is your final winners and final score predictions. Boss, let's start with you. Who do you have winning the game and what is the score?
So I'm overly confident in the Packers, right? Like, I'm a Packers fan, right? Like, obviously I'm going to come on here and be like, hey, if we play our best ball, I fully believe this team can win. It's going to be a very, very hard game. And if it comes down to, stopping Saquon Barkley, that's going to be a big thing. And if they can't stop Saquon Barkley and he goes for $150, $170, whatever, and they utilize him through the air, like he had, also week 1, he had a receiving touchdown. It's going to be very hard for the Packers to win that football game. And just like week 1, if we get a couple turnovers, we need to execute on those turnovers and then get the mental mistakes out of the way. So I'm basing it off all on that. Like, hey, I think the Packers will clean this up. I think they got punched in the mouth last week against the Bears. And I think there was a little bit of a rift in that locker room of like, hey, we got to step it up. Every single one of us, the veteran players have to play better. It seems like in all our losses this year, the veteran players, they're the problem during those games. So they have to play better. We're talking Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark. So to summarize it all up, I have 28-24 Green Bay and another shocker there, underdog win here in 2025 it is now, right? Yeah, 2025, just like last year.
Ooh, the Green Bay Packers winning a playoff game in Philadelphia against the Eagles. Now, boss, Jair Alexander is out, right?
Yeah, Jair's out. Watson will be out. There's we'll see with the injury report tomorrow, obviously, but Quay Walker's on the report. Evan Williams is on the report. So we'll see on those guys. Plus, I got to pick the Packers because I'm going to the game, right? Like, I got to go there. I got to root hard. So I'm going to root for the Packers. I'm not going there to root for the Eagles. So I'm picking Packers.
So maybe some key injuries out for the Packers that maybe could be the difference maker in this game, but only time will tell. Eagle Alice, going over to you. What are your predictions?
Well, before I get into that, do you think the Green Bay Packers were scared to play the Eagles? That's why they tried to beat the Bears last week?
I don't. Do you mean like if you wanted them to beat the Bears and then the Cowboys were to win, then we'd play the Rams right now, right? Is that how it would go?
I think so it would have been Tampa or the Rams. I don't know.
If the Rams, I think the Rams are 3 or Tampa's 3. I think it would have been Tampa. Regardless, it wouldn't have mattered because Cowboys didn't beat the Commanders there. Yeah. But again, I don't even know. It's maybe it's coping, but like there's certain times in that game where I'm like, I don't even know if the Packers are trying to win. Like Josh Jacobs was pulled after the first quarter. Like Aaron Mosby outsnapped Rashawn Gary. There were so many different things and Jordan Love didn't get placed back in the game. So again, I'm calling it coping because we haven't lost to the Bears since 2018. But I don't know. Sometimes I was like, are they the defensive call to finish the game? I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, because I just thought like, well, guys should have just sat the starters from the beginning. Maybe some of the injuries wouldn't have happened. I'm like, maybe they are scared to play the Eagles. So, or maybe not because y'all was pulling guys. But I see this as a high-scoring game. I think the difference is that I think we're going to get the turnover and you guys not, and that's going to probably be the big difference. I'm going like 34-27 or something like that. I say 34-27. I think it's going to be high scoring, but I think the Green Bay Packers make the mistakes because we've been really good at getting turnovers and executing off of them. Not like the beginning of the year, but as far as during the win streak and so on, anytime we get turnovers, it's like this snowball effect. We just score, and start to hound on teams, and I think that's going to happen. But I think y'all just make the one mistake that might cost y'all the game. I'm not sure if it's a fumble, this key drop, or just this interception or something. Something's going to happen. So 34-27, Eagles.
I got to ask you, though, boss, like when you saw you were playing the Philadelphia Eagles, what was going through your mind? Like, was your mindset, all right, you know what? I like this matchup. I like how we fare up. Or was it, oh, dear God, we're playing the Philadelphia Eagles. This is not who I wanted to play.
I don't really ever have that mindset as a playoff football team, because if you're going to make it to the Super Bowl, you got to beat the best teams anyways. To be the best, you got to beat the best. That's my mindset. So it's like, I'd rather actually start with a harder team like the Eagles, because if you get a win there, and I know it didn't come that way, last year we beat the Cowboys and it was huge momentum, and we gave the 49ers hell, and they were a very good football team last year for a 7 seed to do that. So I think that's I like that a little bit better. I wouldn't want to play the random team, and there's none in the NFC this year, honestly, that snuck in that shouldn't be there. I think every single team in the NFC deserves to be in the playoffs. That's the 7 teams that are in there. There's not like another team you're like, oh, they should be in. So, I'm not really scared of it. I think the Eagles are an excellent football team. Again, I'm an optimistic Packers fan. I'm not going to sit here and be like, it's 100% going to happen. They're going to win. But again, I'm also born and raised Pennsylvania. So, like, yeah, I want to see them play the Eagles.
Unfortunately, I am too. Now, Eagle Eye, what was your reaction when you saw that you were playing the Packers, right? Was it like, oh, we beat them week 1, like this is an easy dub, we got it in the bag? Or were you like, not exactly the team I wanted to face?
The reason why I wanted Washington, because when we lost to them, I'm like, man, I want them so bad. Because I'm like, we got 5 turnovers on the Washington Commanders, right? And scored 6 points off of 5 turnovers. So, and they bragging. I'm like, yo, Jalen Hurts played the whole game. We would have beat y'all. So I wanted them, but we ended up getting Green Bay, and Green Bay in past history, they did beat us in the link. So I guess I could just go off that. But I really wanted Washington just for rivalry reasons. But I'm like, okay, I'm cool with the Packers. And I wanted a fair matchup against the Packers. So when I seen like Jair Alexander, then the Christian Watkins, then the Jordan Love thing, I'm like, it's just going to be a fair matchup. But I guess it's football, right? Injuries happen. So I'm like, okay, there's things we can take advantage of, like Jair Alexander, not on A.J. Brown. This a thing we could take advantage of.
Might help us. He cooked them week 1. It might help us.
Oh, that is true. So, yeah, I was just like, there's some things we could take advantage of. The Green Bay Packers, they are a young team. This is like our 3rd year in a row going to the playoffs. So we should be able to handle them. But I really want to Washington. Really wanted them.
For sure. Well, guys, this is where we kick it to you. Let us know who you are riding with in this matchup. Are you riding with Eagle Owl and the Philadelphia Eagles, or are you riding with Bosarowski and his Green Bay Packers? Let us know in the comment section below. Another big shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this video. Make sure you use that promo code YouTube150 when you sign up for that limited time exclusive offer. I'm Colby Cochran, though, with Roundtable Sports. We appreciate you guys for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, but we appreciate you guys for watching. Stay safe.